You've heard the saying, money talks, money is evil, money doesn't buy happiness. And my personal favorite, money doesn't buy happiness, but it can buy me a boat. But what does the Bible actually say about money? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Alright, so we are back. And as you may have noticed from the logo, we did change the name of the podcast. It is now called 7 Dimensions. I left Built from the Inside Out as the slogan, and the reason was Built from the Inside Out was just longer. 7 Dimensions made more sense because that's what we do. We talk about the 7 dimensions and it's shorter, so it's easier for people to remember. But obviously we love Built from the Inside Out because that's also what our podcast is about, so I left that as the slogan. So I just wanted to address that real quick for anyone who might be confused. So I'm here with our baby and, as always, my amazing husband. Hey, babe.
What's up?
Thank you for being here. So as we start this new, I guess we can call it series, it's going to be a little bit different because we're actually going to start having guests again. I stopped having guests during pregnancy because I wasn't feeling the best and I didn't want to be that flaky person that would always cancel. So I just decided not to do guests, and then Juan and I would just record whenever I felt good enough to record. So that's going to be another change as well. Since I'm not starting the intro with the Bible verse anymore, what I'm going to start doing is I'm just going to start the podcast with a Bible verse. I'm going to just read it. And today I chose Matthew 6:24 through 25. And it says, "No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. Therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body what you will put nor about your body what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing?" Alright, so I chose that Bible verse because I feel like it summarizes everything we're going to be talking about. So a lot of people, when they read that verse, they think, oh, if I can't have money if I want to serve God. And that is not what the Bible verse is saying. So what the Bible verse is saying is that you're either serving money or you're serving God. So money can either be your master or it can be your servant. And you don't have to be rich to be serving money. You could be poor and you could be serving money. Example, you're always broke, so you're always worried about money, you're always anxious. Instead of praying, instead of spending time with God, instead of reading your Bible, instead of going to church or whatever it is, you're out there focused like, how do I get more money? How do I get more money? I need money. That you're making money, your master right there, not God. And you could be rich and not make money your master. You could get, paid and then be like, all right, here's my tithe, here's my savings, here's this, and now I have spending money. Okay, whatever. And it's not a big deal to you. So in that case, money is your servant, it's not your master. And then it could also be the other way around. You could be not have a lot of money, but you could be making God a priority. You could have a lot of money and not making God a priority. So I don't know if I rambled on that, but I just wanted to make it clear that the Bible does not say that you shouldn't have money.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to add to that?
To that? No?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you said enough.
Yeah, and the reason I wanted to clarify that was because I grew up hearing that rich people were bad. And if you were rich, it's because you did something sketchy to get there. And with that mentality, you're never going to accumulate wealth because you're seeing wealth as something bad. And so growing up, that's what I was told. I always wanted money, so I was sometimes looked at as not that I was a bad person, but there were,
Like vain?
Vain, yeah, like, oh, all she cares about is money.
Yeah.
And maybe at some point I did, because I was like, I don't want my kids to grow up the way I did. So maybe I didn't always have my priorities straight, but once I realized, like, hey, money isn't bad, and me wanting money is not bad. Now, if I'm putting money before God, then yeah, I'm wrong. But you can be good with God and you can have wealth. And I think I really realized that when I started seeing people like Dave Ramsey, and I know there's others. There's a lot that I know now, but at that time, I think Dave Ramsey was the first one that I found that I was like, oh, he's rich and he's Christian. and he helps a lot of people, and God uses him.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? How did you grow up seeing money?
Very different from what we do now. I never seen it as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of grew up with, they're saying like, oh, only those people have money. That's only for the people with money. Never, you can be a person who acquires money and uses it, versus just all I was told was you got to go to work to get money to pay your bills. Like very limited on what it was.
Yeah.
I don't know the pivoting point where money really changed for me. Because when I grew up, I don't want to say we grew up with need, but we definitely didn't grow up with, I think God provided for us. But we still grew up through a struggle. Like I was just telling you the other day, and I don't know if I had shared with you before, but I've been in a position where people are like, I don't see an end. Like I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, because car had no AC, car broke down as a kid, having to carry groceries home for over a mile on the side of the highway. And it was me and my mom, and we're carrying groceries coming home from Walmart to the house. Car messed up. So we're walking on the side of the highway. Some lady, I think it was a lady, thankfully picked us up and drove us there. But I forget about that, from how far we've come.
Yeah.
I still remember, my goal being little was, oh, they have AC in their car. Oh, they got money. Like, they live in a house that's, an actual house. Like, they got money. So it was very limited like that. No, I wasn't really ever told, money was bad. But it was more like, that's not for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because I grew up not like that, but we also didn't have a lot of money. We had enough to pay the bills and then spend a little here and there.
Yeah.
And I was the only child for 10 years before my brother came along. So, we weren't poor, but we weren't.
Yeah. Somehow we always had, because we were eating beans, potato and beans, but we didn't know any better. My mom would fry the potatoes, and she would make the beans taste good with a little bit of bacon grease. Yeah. And I was like, hey, this is solid. The food wasn't ever a problem.
Yeah.
I remember I ate eggs with everything, but I just thought that's what people ate. I didn't realize it's because that's all we had. Wow. So the mindset, like I said, it wasn't the money was bad or anything. It was just hey, we just don't have it. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, so we did, I guess I lived okay, normal. I don't know what normal is, but what was normal to me, what everybody around me seemed to be living like. Up until my mom and my stepdad got divorced. And then, so that we didn't have that income anymore.
Yeah.
But, luckily I was at a working age. I was 16, I believe. So I started working, and I worked for my own stuff. And I remember when I went for a college tour at Texas Tech, a lot of the girls were there with their dads. And and to me, I don't know why, this is the mentality I had growing up in Freeport. They were white and they had a dad. So to me, they were rich. And I remember at some point even feeling mad, life is so unfair. Yeah. They have that and I don't. And obviously as I grew up, now I see things differently, and I understand that's not, Yeah. Just because they're a certain race or they have a dad doesn't mean, which I'm sure they're doing better off financially than we were, but
yeah,
we've learned a lot since then.
Yeah. I think that was one of the things. It was I guess the culture growing up, our parents, because they're first generation that came over. I don't know if it was just like something they said to make themselves feel better about it or what, but it was always like, oh, that's white people stuff. Mm-hmm. And not that they were racist in any ways. Like we're not racist. We grew up having all kinds of friends and everything, and they weren't racist. They just seen it as like,
they're better.
It's kind of like, that's not for us. That's really what it was. It was like, that's not for us.
But even grades. I remember being in geometry. Never understood geometry. Mm-hmm. And my friends and I would sit like together, and then there were a few white kids also in class. And out of all my friends, I got the highest, which was like a 70. And then we look over at one of the girls, and she made a 90. And we're like, oh, it's because she's white.
Yeah, but it's because you were taught that.
Yeah.
You were taught that, right? Because, like, I mean, I tell my coworkers, because most of my coworkers are all white. I'm like, that's white people stuff. And, you know, we make the exact same amount of money and everything like that. Like, we all have the same opportunities, but it's just like that was something we heard growing up. So I messed with them saying it.
Yeah.
But I think that it was just that. It doesn't mean geometry wasn't for you.
It wasn't.
Okay, it's not saying like you're not capable of geometry.
Yeah. I mean, my race has nothing to do with me not being the best at math. That's what we're saying.
But it's because you heard it growing up.
Right.
It's like that's white people stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I didn't think we were going to be talking about race today.
We pray wherever it takes us. It takes us.
Yeah, no, but that's so true.
Yeah, because some people could have grown up the same way as us, and they could still have that same mentality.
Yeah.
Before we go like further into finances and stuff, like I said, I came from that. It was a household of 6. I had 4 brothers, 1 half brother, so it was 5 boys, all boys,
Dang.
and 1. We grew up in a trailer, a 2-bedroom trailer, up until my older brother got older, and my dad built a room attached to the trailer. But so it was 4 boys in 1 room, living room. I think we had there was a restroom, and then there was two bathrooms. 2 bedroom, 2 bathrooms, small living room, small kitchen. But that's all I knew. And I didn't know that, people got their own rooms. I didn't know anything like that. So if you come from any kind of background and you feel like you're starting behind, you may be a little bit starting, like, I heard the other day, and I really like it, your parents' ceiling is your floor. So if somebody else's parents put them at a higher, like, their floor is higher than yours, it doesn't mean you can't elevate yours exponentially and catch up or pass them up. I just want to say that before we get into it.
Yeah.
If somebody's listening and being like, oh, well, they say that now because they, life's changed for us financially. So,
thank you, Jesus.
Yeah. But we worked for it.
Yeah. No, yeah. And one of my favorite sayings growing up was the same water that hardens the egg softens the potato. And what that means is, like, it doesn't matter what your circumstances is, it's what you're made out of. So you could grow up in the same crappy environment as someone else, but are you going to let that ruin you, or are you going to use that as fuel? And that's what I did. I used it as fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I said a lot of the times people were like, oh, all she thinks about is money.
Yeah. But they didn't understand where it came from.
Yeah. For me, it was fuel. I was mad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I healed, and then, anger no longer fuels me. Now I just try to learn.
Yeah.
And I try to share what I learned with you guys. Because I don't know who all is watching. I don't know who all needs to hear this.
Yeah. Situation can turn at any point in time. You can go from low to high, high to low. Everything's in seasons. I guess, you quote the 7 years of famine versus the 7 skinny cows, 7 fat cows. Joseph, right?
Joseph.
Yeah, who interprets it. It's seasons. You hear everybody. Tony Robbins says seasons all the time, and he probably.
And it's so true.
Yeah, and a lot of it, he talks about some faith. I don't know. I'm not going to go into how much he believes or doesn't believe because I don't know him. But it's seasons like that. It's like it literally. A lot of people don't see it that way, but Egypt stocked up in the 7 years of the fat cow.
So we can share the story a little bit real quick for the people who don't know it. So Joseph was Jacob's son. So if you heard of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that's where he comes from. He was sold by his brothers as a slave to the Egyptians. A lot of things happened. He ended up in jail. He was innocent, but he ended up in jail. God put him there for a reason. So one day the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, has a dream.
While he was in jail, he interpreted dreams.
Right, yes. And so one day the Pharaoh has a dream. Nobody around him can interpret what it means. One of the guys that met him in jail remembered, hey, this guy interpreted my dream. they bring Joseph to the Pharaoh, and Pharaoh tells him, "This is what I dreamt. I dreamt 7 fat cows, and then 7 skinny cows ate the fat cows. What does it mean?" And Joseph, who prayed to God, and God gave him the gift of interpreting dreams, told him there's going to be 7 years of abundance and 7 years of famine. And Pharaoh was so pleased with him that he made him second in command. And he said, whatever he tells you to do, do it. And Joseph said, what we're going to do is during those 7 years of abundance, we're going to stock up, we're going to save. And then that way, when the 7 years of famine comes, we have food stored up. And so not only did they have food stored up for themselves, they had enough to sell to other people. So other people would travel and come and buy food from them during those 7 years. Mm-hmm. So that's the story.
Yeah. I forgot what all I was saying. I was just saying, you could be in your 7 years of a skinny cow or a fat cow, but be smart with whichever one you're in. If you're in the low, don't try not to dig any lower. And if you're at high, save it all up.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that's something, and I'm so thankful for Dave Ramsey. And I know some people hate on him and be like, this and that. But for me, he was so helpful because I was an emotional spender. Mm-hmm. So I'm frugal, and I'm actually the saver in the relationship. Whoa. But sometimes I do let my emotions get to me, and I can be an emotional spender. So there were times where I was just emotionally spending. And when I came across Dave Ramsey, and he's like, hey, save $1,000, pay off all your debt, have an emergency fund, invest your money. And I had to hear it for years before I actually followed the steps like I should. And I think it was also not only because I felt like, I don't have enough money at some point while I was growing up, because I've known about Dave Ramsey since college, but I never listened. Because, he would say, don't borrow. And I'm like, but everybody has credit cards. Everybody takes out loans. Everybody borrows. What do you mean don't borrow? Like, I don't know anyone who buys their card cash. What do you mean? So, again, that limited mentality. And it wasn't until a few years that I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to actually take the steps. And the only thing that was missing was the tithing. I feel like I really wish I would have known about that. And growing up, I would hear about tithing, but we don't tithe because we don't know what the church is going to do with it. Which is so bad. Yeah.
Ooh, that's like a whole nother. It's like a whole nother video. But I'll just say, if you go to a church and you have something in your heart's telling you, don't give the money because you don't know what the church is doing for it. One, it could be deception from the devil, because he lies and he puts things and he tries to interrupt by putting things in your head. So pray on it. But secondly, if you've prayed on it and you still feel that, you might be at the wrong church. Yeah. Listen to what they're saying and see the way the money is being. If it's not being used back into the church, it's probably being used wrong. Find a new church if you need to.
Yeah, I agree, because I didn't tithe until we started going to our church. And I actually saw how they put the money to use. And I'm like, well, first of all, yes. And second of all, first of all, the Bible says that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And second of all, I see that, this is being used for good. And if you're on the fence about tithing, see it this way. God said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's and give to God what is God's. And I heard somebody on the George Dangle podcast, and he was telling him, if you buy your son a car, a very expensive car, and you're like, hey, let me borrow it to go to the store real quick, and the son's like, no, that's my car. What are you gonna do? Give me that car. Give me those keys.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So God is the one who's giving you the money. So if he's like, hey, give me back 10%, you give him back 10%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if you're like, I worked for it, God opened the doors for you. God let you wake up and get out of. Because I mean, if you watch other ones, I'm like, I will wake up whatever time, I'll put in the work. But God's the one who put that in me to be able to do that. So give your 10%. Yeah. He's the one who gave you the means, the physical strength, the mental capacity, and all that to do it. He put you where you're at.
Yeah, and if you're at a church where you're like, I think they'll do good with it, think of it this way. You and God, this relationship right here, this vertical relationship, you're good with God. Whatever they do with it, if they don't manage that money correctly, that's on them and God. but
Yeah.
you did your part. And also, I think it's Paul, where he talks about how he's like, I guess he works, so he's not even asking them for money, but he's mad at them because they're complaining about giving the people who are like, sharing the gospel money. And he's like, and I'm like, that's so true, because are we out there, sharing the gospel? Are we out there going on the mission trips? Are we out there going to the doing the hospital visits? Are we the ones bringing food to people who need it?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not doing it, then just support the cause.
Yeah. So I grew up differently.
Mhm.
I grew up not seeing tithe as a bad thing. I seen it as something we had to do. My mom would, before church, I remember when we were little, she'd give us like $2. And so as practice as tithing is what we're going to do.
Mhm.
We're going to teach him that you tithe.
Yeah.
You tithe, you tithe, you tithe. But I remember, $2 as I got older, she'd give us $20 to give. And I'd put it in the offering plate. But I was always...
We gave an offering. No tithe, though.
No, well, she gave her tithe. She gave us for the offering because I wasn't working yet when I was little.
Okay.
But my mom would, like, when my mom gave her life to Christ, she gave her life. Like, this is what we want to do and all that.
Mhm.
And I think that's the reason that there was always food in the house.
Mhm.
She never made a lot of money, and then my parents split up. So they had the two incomes when I was younger,
Mhm.
and then they split up, and we moved around a lot. We didn't have a place, but there was always food on the table.
Mhm.
I don't remember a time when I was like, there's nothing to eat. There was always something. There was, like I said, there was always beans, potatoes, or eggs. There was always something.
Greens, beans, potatoes.
And it's different too, because I remember when my parents were together, how many times the bills wouldn't get paid because the lights would get cut off, the water would get cut off. You would be trying to take a shower and the water would just stop. And you're like, well, or we slept outside on the porch because there was no AC and it was the middle of summer in a trailer, and they just didn't have the fit to pay the bills.
Yeah.
But then when it was down to one income, and it was just my mom, because I was still in high school. I think I was like freshman.
Mhm.
She was making ends meet, and she was always giving her tithe.
Mhm.
It's crazy how it works. Like it's
Yeah.
like, oh, wow. I didn't see it as I was younger. I see it now as I'm older.
Yeah.
But I never seen tithe as a bad thing.
Mhm.
I never seen offering as a bad thing, but I never practiced it, tithing, until our church.
Okay.
And now when we're there and they're talking about something, or they're talking about the kids camps, that money went up, and they're like, you want to sponsor a kid, or you want to give this for Christmas, or this or these different projects. Like, it touches my heart. Like, I want to give more and more and more.
Yeah.
There's times when I feel like I kind of fallen back to, it's like, well, I'm like, oh, well, we have a lot of stuff that we're about to spend right now for whatever season. I'm like, I'm gonna give my tithe. Sometimes, it's the enemy. He's messing with me, and I'm like, well, I already have this budgeted out, and the tithe kind of messes up right there. And then you never fail. You're like, hey, we're gonna give the tithe right away, right? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Like, I get all those thoughts out of my head and I do it, and we have more than what we need. Like, my budget was wrong somehow. Somehow, like, money just comes in from somewhere or something. I'm just like that's just God.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling with it, just do it, and do it with
With a joyful heart.
yeah, I was gonna say a heart of gratitude.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, because it's like, oh, I have money to give.
Yeah.
That's how we need to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even if it's $1, whatever.
Yep.
Whatever your 10% is, do it, and He will bless you. And He says, "Test me, test me." And yeah, and we've seen it. We've seen it in our lives.
Oh, so many times.
Yeah.
Sometimes this is off, but it's literally been to the dollar amount of the budget that I had, like, because I didn't want to move the budget,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh, it's gonna kind of throw this off, and I'm like, I'm gonna tithe. Either way, I'm gonna tithe,
Mhm.
and whatever it was, literally that amount comes in from, maybe it was like a training or something that popped up, or it just works out to that exact amount of money. It's come from somewhere.
Mhm.
Like, you've seen it when we've gotten it.
Mhm.
To the dollar comes right back into the account.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy because it was seen it through people giving us money, people, or like us getting a refund from something,
Yeah.
or like just like out of, like people say money doesn't fall from the sky. That's what it feels like sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember Alexi, a coach that I had previously. She's like, "You're like a little money bucket." She was like, "Money just falls in your lap."
It's because we're obedient. We've taken so many steps of obedience.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't always that way.
Yeah. And it wasn't until we started making God a priority.
Yeah. So we started giving Him first. So
Yeah.
and we just make a conscious effort of always doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just want to say, like, that's another very important thing that I learned last year, and that's Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom of God, and everything else will be added on to you.
Kingdom of God and His righteousness, and
His
everything
righteousness.
will be added to you.
Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
I knew I was missing something. Yes, but that Bible verse is so true. Put Him first, and everything else will fall into place. I promise. I'm not promising that you're gonna be rich, because I don't even consider us rich, honestly. I just consider us we're
Blessed.
comfortable. We're blessed.
Yeah.
Dave Ramsey says, he's like, God doesn't care if you're rich or not. He's like, God only cares if you're making Him a priority.
Yep.
He's like, so if you're doing good with your money, then maybe He'll bless you with more. Or you like, you know, he's like, you're not wrong either way. Like whether you're rich or not, like you're not wrong. It's like you're only wrong if you're not making Him a priority.
Yeah. I like it. I didn't know what exactly direction we were going to go, if we were going to talk about steps of where you're at here, where you're at there, this and that. And we're just kind of...
Yeah, we're just letting it flow.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't know we were talking about race today. So I guess if you've never heard about Dave Ramsey, or if you're like, I've heard of him, but I haven't really like dove deep into it. I don't really know what he talks about. I just know he talks about money. Like here's like a little summary.
Yeah.
So he does the 7 baby steps, right? He has 7 baby steps, he calls them. And the first one is save $1,000. And why do you want to have $1,000 saved? Because he is against debt. And the Bible does say that you shouldn't borrow money. That's actually biblical. And that's another thing I love about him, is that everything he teaches is biblical. So the $1,000, let's say your washer breaks or your dryer breaks, you can buy another one with $1,000. You don't need to swipe a credit card for that. Whenever I remember I was working in Freeport and I was staying with my mom just because it was closer. I wasn't here at the house for a few months, and when I came back, the garbage disposal had broken.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy was like, he's like, it's $500, and it felt so good, so good, because like I said before, I was like struggling and whatnot, to just be like, I have that. It's not even like a worry. Like, here it is.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for fixing my garbage disposal, and thank you, Jesus, because this was not stressful at all. So to me, like, being able to do that, I was like, oh my God, I should have been listening to him sooner.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna add a side note in
Yeah.
to that plumber, whoever he was. I hope it, I'll just leave it at that. But
we
garbage
barely
disposal.
started talking,
I know,
right?
but a garbage disposal, because I ended up having to replace the one he put.
Yeah.
I paid maybe $200 for one that's way better.
Mm-hmm.
That labor is not $300 worth. Watch a YouTube video if your garbage disposal messes up.
Yeah, that was before one, but and like that's between him and God.
Mm-hmm.
Him and God.
Yeah.
Me and God.
I'm not taking away from what she said,
Yeah,
but
no. Me and God, we're like, I was like, thank you, Jesus, and He's blessed me with more sense, so I'm okay.
now you got a better garbage disposal.
Yeah. All right. Baby step. Do you want to add anything to that one?
Yeah. So the reason for that $1,000 is because, like you're saying, if something happens, if you get a flat tire,
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have that $1,000 already put up, and like I was saying, like you budget, even if you're starting to budget, or if you don't budget at all and you're just like, oh, I'll just do it, that it's an unexpected expense.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time, if you have a credit card, you're like, I'll put it on the credit card and I'll pay it off this month.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if you have 2 unexpected expenses?
Mm-hmm.
And then you never make that payment, and then you're accumulating debt. So you're digging deeper
Mm-hmm.
versus you're not digging any deeper. If you have that $1,000, you put that aside, $1,000. So when the time comes, you're not digging deeper you're able to just use what you have there.
And it's not if something happens, it's when something happens, because something unexpected will always happen.
Yeah.
So you better be prepared.
Yeah. 100%.
I used to think I had to hustle, perform, and look perfect to be successful, until an accident forced me to slow down. I couldn't work out, I couldn't show up online, and suddenly I had to face what was underneath it all. That season revealed something I'll never forget. I was building a life on the outside, but I was out of alignment on the inside. God used that pause to redirect me, from striving to serving, from vanity to value, and from burnout to true wellness. And now I help other women do the same. That's why I created the 7 Dimensions community, a Christ-centered community where you can finally align your spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, relational, financial, and vocational life with God's design. If you're tired of surface-level faith and scattered goals, and you know God's calling you to something deeper, this is a space for you. Join the waitlist in the description box below. Enjoy a community of women who will keep you accountable. Yeah. Lady step number 2, pay off all debt, except for your mortgage. That includes your cars, that includes your credit cards, your loans, all debt. And for me, like I said, I'm an emotional spender, so I would be debt free, and then I would go back right into debt, and then I would be debt free, and then I would go right back into debt. And so it was like a little game that I would play, because I was like, oh, I've done it before, I can do it again.
Yeah.
And I would. But I'm so tired of this.
No, he's saying, don't go into debt. Don't go into debt. He's against it.
Yeah, he's like, stop it, mama. No, but if instead of going back into debt, I would have just invested that money, or, which I did, I would. I don't want to say I'm a mess with money. I just haven't been the most I'm not an organized person. That's my biggest problem. Organization and emotion. And whoever says that, so talking about emotion, the snowball debt, right? So, the snowball effect. He says pay the smaller debt off first, and then from what you were using to pay that debt off, once it's paid off, add it to the next debt. And then, so it creates the snowball effect, so you have more and more money to put towards your debt as you finish paying off debt. And some people will be like, oh, that doesn't make sense. You should do the one with the highest interest first, which mathematically would make the most sense. But you, as a human being, if you're anything like me, you're probably emotional. So paying off that small one will give you that, like, win. Like, I did it. All right, let's go on to the next one. Like, it gives you momentum. So it's not a mathematical thing. It's a psychological thing. And people will be like, oh, the highest interest. If you're like a little robot and you love math and... No. I had that argument at first, is what I thought, and then he shut it down. I watched a lot of Dave Ramsey's videos where he was talking, and somebody was like, oh, well, mathematically it makes sense to pay the highest interest first, right? If you have a 5% interest rate versus a 27% interest rate, like most credit cards, if you miss one payment, it's like super high. So you're like, oh, yeah, mathematically it makes sense. If you knew math that well, you would never use a credit card, because you use money you don't have. So mathematically, if you think it's dumb to do the snowball effect, mathematically you just call yourself dumb for spending it on the credit card. Yeah. So that's my 2 cents on that. Hey, I like that. I hadn't heard that one. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, that math. So the interest thing, right? So it's like if you have 3 credit cards, or you have 3 debt payments, loan, credit card, whatever it is, right? And one of them has a 20% interest rate, one of them has 15 and a 5. You're like, oh, I'm going to pay the 20% interest rate, then the 15, then the 5, because I'm going to be wasting money on interest. So what you do is you take those 3 debts. If one of them, so we'll say 2,000, 1,000, and 100, or 500. You do minimum payment of 2,000, minimum payment on the 1,000, and you try to pay off all on the 100. You pay as much as you can. And then once that 100's gone, you have that money you were putting towards 100 plus the minimum you were putting towards 1,000, and you attack the $1,000 one. And you still keep doing the minimum on the 2,000. You don't split it. You don't change that 2,000 one, doesn't change at all until that 1,000 is paid all the way off. Now you have what was being split into 3 into 1, and you attack that 2,000 and pay it off. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. And it works. We are proof that it works. So it's pay off all debt, and then emergency fund, the 3 to 6 month emergency fund. So now you have no debt except for your mortgage, so you have all this free income, right? Well, aside from bills. But you have extra income now in your pocket. So now you can build a bigger emergency fund because, like I said, it's not it's not if, it's when. So now, let's say for some reason you lose your job, COVID happens, I don't know, whatever. You can't work for 3 to 6 months. You're okay because you have that money saved up. And that's the biggest thing for the 3 to 6 months. You're not borrowing money ever again. It's his goal for you.
Yeah. So you save that $1,000. That's separate from your 6-month emergency fund.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, and then eventually it's all combined once you're at that step.
Yes,
step
but
3.
also you never hear once you get the credit cards that paid off and you're debt free and then you have extra income because it's not going to. Never does he say you start upgrading your life.
Yeah.
Never does he say start buying stuff that you wanted. And it's easy to do, especially while you're doing that, if your income increases, if by whatever percentage your income is increasing, you still, if you stay living the way you were, just spending the way you were, cost of living is different. I know that because everybody's feeling it. Cost of living is going up and it's ridiculous. But if you do that, then you have extra income to save up for that 3 to 6 months. And I know I was one of the ones that was like, I could, because the work I used to do before, I was like, yeah, I could find work anywhere. Like I could leave a job today and be working potentially within a week to 2 weeks. But there was a point in time when I went, a month? I think a month without work. And it's kind of like okay. Well, it was, I think it was right around Christmas too. So that's when people aren't really hiring. Nobody's really trying to hire anybody right around Christmas. Hours are shorter that month. I mean, you could go do like a retail job or something, but it's still not the same. So save up when and where you can. Make it a priority.
Yeah. And I really wanted to share this because as someone, like I said earlier, like we've been so blessed, and if I would have been more organized, more responsible, less emotional, like the house would be paid off. But I've done, and it's like this little thing that I have where I'm like, yes, but, and I'm like, yes, financially would be in a better place, but I lived my life. Like, I started traveling when I was in college, 2011, I think, and, like, I can say I have all these memories. Like, I did the pageant, which, it's costly. You gotta pay some money. Fitness competitions, you gotta invest some money as well. Just things that traveling, things that I've done that I spent money on, and I'm like my mentality was like, I'm young, I'm single, no kids. Like, I'm gonna live the life to the max. I want no regrets when I finally do get married and have kids. And obviously that's like something that they put in your head because now that I'm married and with a kid, I'm like, well, I don't have to stop.
Yeah.
Like, like your life doesn't end. But it's like, I'm like, yeah, I could have done better, but also I've lived a good life.
Yeah.
But if I could go back, would I change anything? I would probably be more responsible. And since college, 2009, when I heard about Dave Ramsey, if I could go back in time, I would start living that way.
So I first heard about Dave Ramsey, and I didn't even know I heard about Dave Ramsey when, probably in 2013, before I left college, when I was working at Advanced Nutrition, Hermano Ray's son, one of his older sons, he did it, and my brother was telling me, he's like, yeah, his name's Roland. He's like, yeah, Roland and his wife, they found this book, and he like deep dived into it, and he really committed, and he paid everything off, and he's debt free, and now he's saving, and he was sharing it with everybody else. And I was just like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
And then, I started making more money later on. Hindsight's 20/20, by the way. Hindsight's always 20/20. It's like, oh, I would have invested more. I would have done a 401 or Roth, whatever.
Yeah.
Because everybody could say that about Bitcoin. It's like, oh, I should have bought Bitcoin way back in the day.
Yeah, I remember somebody told me, they're like, you should invest in Bitcoin. And I'm like, I don't know what investing is. I don't know what website I go to. I don't know about money. I heard it's a scam.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
But a lot of people might be here too. I used to make decent money, and I didn't have a lot of bills. And then I would work all these crazy hours, and I'd make good money. And I was like, hey, it's the weekend. I'm gonna go have fun. And then instead of being like, hey, responsible, you just worked all this time with it, I'm like, I ain't worried about it. I'm gonna work a lot next week. I got another check coming next week. Like, I got more money coming next week. I got more money coming. So I would spend money, I forget what song it is, but it says, broke people spend money that they haven't even made yet. It's a rap song, but I don't listen to that anymore, so that's why I don't know what song it is. But that's basically what I would do. I would spend the money and be like, I think I can make it till payday. And so there was no reason for me to be check to check, but I would do that to myself because I'd spend the whole weekend out. And it's just...
Yeah, I guess it's what you do when you're young.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if nobody ever tells you, I didn't have nobody told me how to build credit. As much as Dave Ramsey's against credit, I'll say credit's not a bad thing. And your credit will go up if you're responsible with stuff. If you get out of debt, your credit will go up. A lot of people argue with me. We have proof that it goes up if you get out of debt. But nobody, there was no guidance for me. I would hear people at work just be like, oh, you should do this and that. And I was always like, why am I going to listen to you if we're in the same boat and you're 20 years older than me and you're still coming to work every single day, doing this or that. I never put myself in positions to be around people that were really doing well financially. Even like when I went to advanced nutrition, Jason was doing really well, and I believe he still is. He owns multiple businesses. I never seized the opportunity to use him as a mentor.
Yeah.
I would listen to some of the other employees there that were 15 years older than me, 10 years older than me, and we were doing the same stuff. I would listen to them instead of listening to the guy who was writing our checks. I had direct contact with him, and he was a really good friend to all of us. So that's what my hindsight would be is I had somebody there that was a business entrepreneur dude who was doing multiple businesses, and I helped with some of his business stuff, like setting things up. I never said, hey, how do you do this? What do I do? How do you invest? None of that. I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
I think, actually, instead of, when I was working there, like, it's when people used to get a little bit higher income tax back in the day. I just blew it all on SPI, on South Padre, instead of investing it. Like, when you're young, if you get an income tax, that's the perfect opportunity to just invest it.
I remember I was in college, and I was working at Hastings. I don't know if people remember Hastings. It was a bookstore with a coffee shop. And I worked at the coffee shop. And an old man would come in, and he would just talk, and he would talk to Lily and I. And I remember he would tell me, because he would say he was a millionaire. And he's the one who told me about the Jews, how the Jewish people, because he was Jewish. He was like, when I came here, he was like, he explained like his whole process, and it's basically like they help each other up. So
they keep money within the Jewish community, and they all start something so they can help each other up.
So the Mexicans have a bad rep for pushing each other down, or not wanting to see people doing better than them. I'm not saying every Mexican, but there's like a bad stereotype out there about our culture.
That's why they say be your own people.
Yeah. What? Beat your own people?
It be your own people.
Oh, it be your own people. Yeah. But the Jewish, they're like, oh, you're one of my people. Come here, I'll help you. I'll mentor you. I'll give you a job. But anyways, like I was gonna say, he would always tell me, your money should be making you money. So that's how you get rich. Your money makes you money. And he would always tell me that, and I'm like, my money makes me money. I'm like, what the heck does that even mean? Like I never understood. And he'd be like, real estate, and I'm like, I'm broke college student, and I'm like, how the heck am I even gonna buy a house? I live in a dorm room.
Yeah.
But it kind of stayed with me, and I feel like I've had good advice throughout the years from random people, I just never knew how to implement it. And I feel like Dave Ramsey took the time to be like, look, dummy, here are 7 very simple steps.
Yeah.
Just follow them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I needed.
They're simple steps, but it's not always. It's not easy. It feels difficult because you like you said
Emotions.
we're emotions.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with people trying to get in shape. You eat out of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So check your emotions.
Like how do you lose weight? Be in a caloric deficit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so simple.
How
the heck do you stay in a caloric deficit?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's live within your means.
Mm-hmm.
Live off less than you make, and your income will grow.
Mm-hmm.
Your wealth will grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's simple, but
I remember it stuck with me when someone said something about Warren Buffett, and they were like, he bought one house and he has lived in that house his whole life. He never upgraded. And I was like, I thought that was interesting.
Probably a nice house, though.
It is a nice house. I looked it up years ago. But yeah, I mean, but they're saying for like his kind of money.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. That's why I don't know.
Yeah, so
I think a lot about. I'm like, we're comfortable. Do we need to upgrade? I don't know. It'd be nice, but we can have this conversation.
Yeah,
later.
I'm not going into that right now.
Yeah. All right, so we're on baby step 3, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So your 3 to 6 month expenses. All right, so you've done that. So now what do you do? Now you start investing. So the whole time before you weren't investing because you needed all that extra money to get to baby step
4.
3. Well, and now baby step 4. So now you're going to be investing. And he says invest 15% if you're at that point. And so you have with work, we opened up Roth IRAs separately, one for you, one for me. We even opened up one for our little boy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a son or a child, we had heard about the 529 plan, but we had never heard of the UTMA or UTGA.
UGMA. UTMA, UGMA.
Yes, you're right. So that's an investing account for your minor. The difference is the 529 is for school only, but this
or qualified expenses. It has to be qualified by the government.
Mm-hmm. For school, right?
It has to be educational purposes.
Yeah, and with this other account, he can use it for whatever he wants. Once he turns 21, if he wants to go to school, he can use it to go to school, or if he wants to start a business, he can use it to start a business. And that's something we recently learned. Yeah,
so the 529, a lot of people like it and stuff because it's tax-free. Mm-hmm. It can be used for school or qualified expenses. Mm-hmm. But it's 100% whatever you want to do for your kid. But you have to look at it as, are they potentially going to be going to college, and then money just goes to college and that's it, which is great. If the kid goes to college and decides to do that, or trade school or anything like that, that's all qualified expenses. Mm-hmm. Even a laptop, if they need a laptop for high school or whatever. Mm-hmm. But if they don't, and you try to get that money out, you go under penalties. Mm-hmm. And then also, people are like, oh, I would trade it over to a Roth. I mean, this is kind of getting deeper into it. Yeah. But you can only do up to $35,000. If you have more than $35,000 in there, you can't transfer it, and their income has to match $35,000. Mm-hmm. So there's different things, like do your own research on it, talk to financial advisors or anything like that. We're not against them at all.
Yeah, we have one.
Yeah, so it's really good and to do research on that. But that's another thing. Like the first time I ever heard about somebody investing for their kid was mm-hmm. my economics teacher in high school. Mm-hmm. She said she bought stocks in Home Depot in like I guess this was 2012. Mm-hmm. She said she bought stocks for her grandchild. And I was like, who does that? What? Like,
you're like, why didn't she buy him a game?
Yeah, buy him a game. Buy him some cake. But now I understand it as a older. I'm like, hey, that's like a really good.
Very smart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to have to take a break. We'll be back. All right, we are back, and the baby is fed, diapers changed, and now he's hanging out with us. So the wrap I've actually only worn while doing the podcast. So I think I did it right this time. If I didn't, you know what? He's okay. He's fine. He's a happy, healthy baby.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, so we left off on... oh, he's so happy. Step 5 and 6. Sorry, step 4 and 5. We actually blended them. So step 4 is invest 15% of your household income in retirement. And step 5 is save for your children's college fund. So I was talking about the
UTMA versus a 529.
Yes.
So just see whatever. Do your research on it. Get a maybe a financial advisor and see which one works better for you and your situation.
Yeah, and something we didn't talk about was high yield savings, and we'll just touch on these briefly because I do want to have a guest on who knows more about investing and can explain it better to you guys. Because we're only sharing what we know, what we understand. So the high yield savings is a savings account, but you're actually earning interest. So your regular bank will give you like 0.01% of your money back, and then the high yield savings will give you like a 4%, 3%. It depends on where the market is at. So a great place for you to put your 3 to 6 month emergency fund because it's accessible. You can quickly take it out whenever you need it. It's building, maybe not a lot. You're not going to get rich off of this, but at least it's building more than just having it in a regular savings account. And then like we talked about, there's the Roth, there's the 401k, there's investing for your children.
Yeah, so you could do like, if you want to just break it down simple, you could look at it like short term would be like a high yield savings account. If you want something, say 5 years down the road, that you don't need, you're not going to touch, you'll be fine without it, and it's just extra income that you could put aside and you're not going to touch it. You could do CDs, you could do municipal bonds, anything like that, where it's tied up and not accessible, where you can get it, but it's under a penalty, and it's like a guaranteed interest, which would be a little bit longer. And then your long term, you're not thinking about it, you just invest into it, you don't even look at it. I mean, you can look at it, but don't stress about it. It would be like your IRAs or your 401 if you get one through work, or you can do one without, but if you're going to do that, just do a Roth.
When you said that, like, forget about it, I just remembered I actually have a 401k, but I forget I have it.
Oh, see, that's exactly what you should do.
Yeah, so we both have a 401k and we both have a Roth. So we have like 4 different accounts. Yeah. And then the babies. And then there's also life insurance. But I'm actually going to have somebody also, a different person, come in and talk more about that because we're just not learning about trust funds. Is that what they're called?
No, living trust.
Living trust. Mm-hmm. Yes, see, I'm new to all this. So yes, we'll have somebody come in and explain it, which we thought was so helpful. We watched the person that we're going to be using, we watched one of her webinars, and it just opens your eyes up. And especially for me, since I grew up, my dad passed away before I even turned 1. So it's something that's always in the back of my mind. Like, I'll do things or say things. Like I said, this podcast is, in case I'm not here one day. And, I want my son to be able to look back and listen to what his mom would have advised him or what she would have taught him. And that's, like, the main reason why I do the podcast. I just wrote him a children's book, which I haven't shared yet. So you guys are the first one hearing about this. Still working on it, but I do a lot of things thinking about what if I'm not here one day. So whenever I heard about the trust, I was like, oh, absolutely, we have to do this. And I just thought it was so good, and we want to share it with you guys as well. But I'll have someone come in, so like a professional who actually does this for a living, come in and tell you guys about that. Is there anything else you want to share about this while we're on this topic?
Just on investing. And it might seem like I don't know how to invest, I don't know what to do, this and that. The sooner you start, the better, because of compound interest. There's never a perfect time to do it. Mm-hmm. Everybody's like, oh, when I make this, or when just do it. It's like anything else. A perfect plan is not as, I forget exactly how it goes, but a perfect plan is not as good as a plan executed. Mm. So just start it. Even if you start a 401 and you're like, oh, I didn't know about a Roth, you still are already making more on your money than you would have before. If you don't know about the UTMA, 529, anything like that, you're like, oh, put it in a high yield savings. Start there. Mm-hmm. High yield savings, super easy. You can Google high yield savings account and start there, and then start learning about things, but just start. You could start the savings. You could start your $1,000 in a high yield savings account. So you could literally be at step 1 and start technically looking at it as like an investment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's there for that $1,000, but it's accessible right away if you need it. But yeah, just start. Mm-hmm. That's it.
I agree. And
he agrees too.
And I'm gonna have another guest come in and also talk about talk about wealth and wellness and I'm going to talk to her about the emotions behind it, because I have been, oh, he's so happy. I have been such an emotional person when it comes to money, because I've had 401ks with different jobs that I've had, and I'll take them out and I'll spend them. Like, I've been very irresponsible, emotional, but we're learning and we're doing better now.
I guess one more thing on that. If you have one with work, as far as I know, all of them are transferable. They're yours. You take them wherever you go. So if you're at one job, and they offer 401k and you set it up and they offer contributions or not, however it is. Oh my goodness, he spit up. All right, I'm back. Your 401 is transferable. So if you leave one company and you started it, it's yours. It's not the company's. You can transfer it, and do contributions from your next job. Your percentage out of your income. Your job may not match contributions or whatever, but still, just keep it moving. If you're putting a little bit of whatever you can do is going to make a big difference in the long term.
Yeah. And then step number 6 is pay off your house. So then you have nothing to pay except for your bills, which is the goal, right? And then that's when after you pay off your house, you're at baby step number 7, which is give like no one else. So live and give like no one else. So while you're trying to get to baby step number 7, you're supposed to be living like no one else, as in like really limiting yourself, so that then you can live like no one else, as in like no limits. But yeah, that's something that, like I said, it takes a lot of discipline. You have to take the emotion out of it, and I feel like we're both pretty emotional at times. So something that we're currently working on.
I think we're both frugal in the sense like I don't really need to spend money on me, but you're like, hey, this would make my life easier, or I could use this, or I need this, and I'm just like, buy it, order it, buy it.
Yeah.
Whatever, and then you, especially now with him, like, see stuff for him or something like that, or it's like, hey, I think that emotion comes in again. Like, you'll be like, hey, like, I'm really trying to do this, like, we want to upgrade the podcast, and you want to do stuff with the house or anything like that, then that's where the emotion comes in, and we'll just end up spending. So we're not perfect. Like I said, there's no perfect time.
So we're not doing this because we're gurus and we have life figured out. No, we're doing this because we're like, hey, I really wish someone would have broken it down for me when I was 20.
Yeah.
Or when I was whatever age,
And if you start now and you're like, oh, it seems so far away, like baby step 7. We recently helped out a family member. We're not at step 7. We're not, everything is 100% paid off. We still have mortgage. But we're able to help a family member out without it really affecting us right away. And they were very appreciative, and it felt good to be like, hey, I can help you out. So you put yourself in position to be able to help people around you.
Yeah. And then also when it comes to managing your money, understand that it's not your money, it's God's money, and you're just stewarding it. So ask him, hey, how do you want me to use this money? So right now, we're not at baby step, well, we are at baby step 7, paying off the house, but
no, that's give like no one else.
Oh, you're right.
We're at 6.
Baby step 6, yeah. But instead of being like, we're gonna give that amount towards the house, we're like, this person needs it, so they say don't let your right hand know what your left hand did, but it's just as an example, like, hey, if God puts it in your heart, you're stewarding his money. So you don't have to, I feel like you don't have to be super rigid about it. Because I know some people
it's the consistency.
It's the consistency. They told Dave Ramsey that they were literally just eating rice and beans, because he says that a lot. If you still have debt, you should be eating rice and beans. You should not see the inside of a restaurant. And then he found out that some people actually were just eating rice and beans. So he's like, that's just like
a metaphor.
A metaphor. He's
like, all I need is milk. I'm good with just milk.
Oh, so sweet. I didn't even read the questions that I had written. But I think...
You want to touch on any of them?
No, I think we did, actually.
No, okay.
Yeah, we just let it flow.
Yeah, so...
But yeah, I think the thing that... The thing that, like, I guess, like, I had the biggest mindset shift was when I realized it's not my money, it's God's money, and I'm just managing it for him. So I always have to be like, hey, what is it that you want me to do with it? And you can go into the Bible and you can just Google, what does the Bible say about money? And it'll tell you all these verses. But of course, also make sure that you're praying to God and asking for discernment, so that you don't read something like the love of money is the root of all evil, and then you think all money is evil. No, it says the love of money, meaning you love money so much that you're willing to take off your clothes for money. You love money so much you're willing to steal for money. You love money so much that you're willing to cheat people for money. Like, that's the difference. The love of money. Is money evil? No. Money is a tool, just like a hammer. A hammer is not evil. A knife. You could either cook, make a really good meal, and have a great time with your family, or you could use that same knife and kill someone. Like, it's a tool. And like Dave Ramsey said, God doesn't care. He doesn't care, as long as you're putting him first. And you're managing the money responsibly. And also, so when the Bible talks about the gifts of the Holy Spirit, it's talking about the gifts, but I feel like it also applies to money, because he says that he gives according to each person's ability. So I feel like it's the same with money. He's like, oh, this person is going to manage the money correctly, so I'm going to bless them with more. I really, truly do believe that. And when we talked about investing, we didn't talk about the parable of the master who has 3 servants, or he probably has more, but he calls 3 servants, gives them each a different amount of money, goes away. 2 of them invested, the other one buries it, he comes back, and then he's mad at the one that didn't invest it, and it didn't multiply it. And that's another thing the Bible says, be fruitful and multiply. So not only have a lot of kids, but like also multiply your money. So many things that you can find in the Bible. I don't want to ramble or go on any longer. What about you? Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who has seen people be like, oh, my grandparents, my parents, whatever it is, left me this property, left me this. Like, when you hear that, you're like, hey, all you got to do is put the house on there, pay whatever, save up to build the house, take a loan out for the house to build the house and pay that off, and you got your place set up. Like, you're done. How good would it feel to be able to do that for the generations coming after you? Mm-hmm. Like, if you're not doing it right now, and you're just not like, oh, well, I may not live to see this, I may not live to, enjoy it all. You're leaving it for the people after you. Mm-hmm. And you're leaving it for, if you leave, the people that depend on you are taken care of. Mm-hmm. So do it for that.
Yeah. So on that note, I remember something. So something that our culture also has is that a lot of the times the kids, are expected to take care of the parents. Mm. When the kids aren't even in a position to be taking care of anyone, like they're barely taking care of themselves. And a lot of people might get upset about this, but you're working backwards when you do that. When you're like, you don't even have your own house, you don't even have your own finances where you need to be, and you're sending it to your parents, or you're trying to build them something. I think that's great when you're in the position to do that. But when you're not in the position and you're like, I have to do this for my parents, you're actually working backwards, and it's harder for you to build wealth. And the Bible does say that, I don't remember which Proverbs it is, but it talks about how it's a good thing for the parents to leave the kids an inheritance. So so instead of you working backwards and trying to help your parents, what you should be doing is trying to build a life where you can leave your kids an inheritance. And that's how you create generational wealth, because now the kid has money to start off, and he can build on that, and then his kids can build on that, and then you build and build and build, right? So like we said, we helped a family member the other day, and so we're not saying like completely like be like, no, I can't help you. That's not what we're saying. If there is a situation and you're able to help, and it won't put you in a hole, you won't go into debt, it won't set you back, then yeah, go for it. But I know our culture is very about working backwards instead of forward. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It goes back to what I said earlier. Our ceiling is gonna be his ground. Mm-hmm. And just like, if you are somebody who's growing up in that culture, and in Hispanic culture, it was, oh, when you turn 16 you go to work so you can help out with the family. Mm-hmm. Imagine you change that to, hey, when you become at this age, if you want to work, you can work. You don't have to. I mean, but you have to do school, whatever you implement, right? Like, you're like, hey, if you want to chase this, or if you want to open up a business, like, I'll match. I'll front 50%, or I'll do this, and we'll go in it together. Let me help you, instead of being like, oh man, I wish I could help you, but hey, I need to pay the bills at the house type thing. And I'm not hating or knocking on anybody who is in that situation, or parents are in that situation. It's just, think about it that way.
And your parents will actually love that for you, because this Mother's Day, my mom sent me this post, and it was talking about Happy Mother's Day to the cycle-breaking generational mama. I grew up, like I said, divorced. Had his parents. Yes, obviously parents, not me. Thank you, Jesus. Okay, parents. At 16, had to stop, doing extracurricular activities at school because I had to work, because I had to pay for stuff. Thankfully, I did get a full ride to college and all that. But now looking at my son, when he's 21, he's not going to be struggling. Like, we're going to hand him the money and be like, do you want to go to school, or do you want to start a business? You have that choice. And you don't have to give us money, because we're doing pretty well ourselves. Like, if you have, which you do, you have the ability to do that. It's just a decision that you have to make. And sacrifice, because it does take discipline. And you're going to have to keep your emotions in check. But which one would you rather grow up in? Which one would you rather your kids grow up in? And my mom is not like looking at me and being like, oh no, she shouldn't have done that. No, she's happy. She's like, hey, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. Great job, and yeah, so just keep that in mind.
I mean, I could leave it there, or I could just say, like, if you're somebody young listening to this and you've just started making money, because it happened to me, you don't need the $50,000 car. Because I did that when I was like 20 years old. I think I was 20. I was 19 or 20. I had my truck paid off. I should have stayed in my truck, but it gave me a problem, and I was just like, I have the money to go, get the car out. I'm gonna just go do it. And I signed for the car. It was a $50 fix on my truck, and I could have just kept all that money. But I gave the truck away, and I put myself in a position where I had to pay for that car for 4 or 5 years. That's a lot of money that I could have been using to work for me. And then it was a Mustang 2-door. Like, you can't do anything with that. If that's your thing, do your thing when you can financially support it later on, for if you want like the sports car or whatever. But if I would have gotten like a truck or something, I could have kept it instead of having to sell it later on, because I was like, I can't do anything with it. I went fast a couple of times. I got tickets, and now what do I do with it? What's it for? What's it used for?
Yeah.
So, I just be smart.
I'm looking at him, and I'm like, we're gonna have to teach him, like, hey, we're gonna give you this money, but you cannot buy yourself a fast. That's not what it's for. It's not for a fast car. You're either starting a business or you're going to school. Those are your two options.
Yep. He's like, I'm gonna do what I want. You're gonna take mom on a vacation.
Yeah, I get him. He's like, no, I'll start a business, and then I'm gonna take her with the money that I make from the business. Yeah, that sounds better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, learn these principles so you can, like, we're learning them. We're not anybody who's at baby step 7. We're still at 6. But learn the principles. That way you can teach your kids so they can grow up differently.
Yeah. Yeah, and when I talk about the 7 dimensions, and I was like, I don't know that we've hit finances yet, which is one of the dimensions.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's do one, and then, we'll have guests as well. We'll ask them, and hopefully we're doing this because we want to provide value, obviously to you, but then obviously, you guys know my real reason why I do this. I want my little boy to grow up and be able to have good advice that we wish we would have had. All right, is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I think that's it.
All right, well, thank you so much for listening. If you guys enjoyed it, give it a like, send it to someone who you think might need to hear it, and we'll see you guys on the next one.